I'm Nicole Lappin, the only financial expert you don't need a dictionary to understand. It's time for some Money Rehab.
Hey everybody, it's me, the Einstein of Wall Street from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be your temporary host sitting in for Nicole Lappin of Money Rehab as she is on maternity leave. We're going to be doing episode after episode every day of what the heck's going on, giving you a forensic breakdown of what's happening into the market as we end 2024. And stay tuned for some of the best interviews I've done since the beginning of this show in 2024 in food, in fashion, in finance, and fun. We'll be seeing a lot of you, so stay tuned.
3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's me, the Einstein of Wall Street. We are here with Trade Like Einstein. I am Peter Tuchman, and we're here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange in the balcony. History is made in this building every single day. Somebody with my long-term experience, I've been here for 137 years. It is my responsibility to help teach you how to navigate this market successfully. Boom!
Hey everybody, it's me, the Einstein of Wall Street from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. What a spectacular day for the last 2 days, right? Let's go over it, man. Let's forensically break this down because it is so significant. Friday, we hit record highs, okay? Record highs due to we've been a little bit flat for maybe a week and change, right? I told you that 8 out of 8 times in the presidential cycle, right? We used to have a market rallied into the election, and then we had a little bit of a follow-through on the election. Then we had the market pull back until November 21st, 22nd, when we started revving up towards the November Black Monday, Black Thursday, Black Friday, big Thanksgiving sales. And so we followed that thing for the 9th time. And then what you end up seeing is Santa Claus come. The market tends to flatten out as it kind of gets its bearings for the end of the year, and then Santa Claus comes to town and we have a rally into the end of the year. Well, 9 out of 9, it's happened once again. Market rallied beautifully coming into the election. Nice rollover the 2 days, 3 days after the election. We had look up 1,200 points after the election, and we had the next couple of days. That was sort of a relief rally, and then we had probably a couple of days of a Trump rally, right? And then the market sort of flattened out and pulled back for a couple of weeks, trying to get bearings. All things waiting for the unemployment numbers and the payroll numbers that came in last week. And they do not disappoint, right? The numbers came in on Friday. They were good, not great enough to take the interest rate cut at the next Fed meeting off the table, but good enough to make the market rally into record highs on Friday across the board, right? So just a few days ago, we were at record highs. Then we had Monday and Tuesday. Market started to pull back. The reason market pulled back on Monday was all about NVIDIA. NVIDIA was being accused of some monopoly, right, trying to take over and corner the market in AI, I guess, and so that kind of took down the whole market with it. We know that happens very often. Seen it with Walmart, seen it with Tesla, seen it with NVIDIA, when an individual stock which carries so much weight in an index and just in the psychology of the marketplace, right? There's some stocks that everybody gets, that they've gotten their attention. And when they do that, everyone throws the baby out with the bathwater, right? And so the market tends to get flushed out with it. Well, that's happened on Monday, right? An attack on NVIDIA around the monopoly question on Monday, and so the whole market kind of fell out of bed. When those days happen, I always say to people, look, if nothing's fundamentally changed, let's take that stock out of the equation and not really overreact. And those are the days where the opportunities lie. If the market sells off around one stock, but we've got everything else getting dumped with it, and you didn't want to pay top dollar for the names you've been looking at, stocks where you like the people, the process, the product, and the profitability, right? The 4 Ps, then go after those names on those days, right? Because nothing has fundamentally changed. Find an opportunity and scoop stocks at a discount of $5 or $10 that you didn't want to pay top dollar for when the market has these little bit of pullbacks. Monday, Tuesday, I said it to you. If you go back to the videotape, right, like Warner Wolf back in the day, I said, don't get excited about these days. We're off 150 on the Dow, 25 on the S&P. It's nothing to be worried about. I believe that we're going to have some numbers coming in on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and I believe they're going to be good. So hold your ground. And if you listen to me, and I'm not your financial advisor, right? Disclaimer. But it turned out to be right. CPI came in this morning, right? Looking for 3.3, came in at 3.3, did not disappoint. Expectations were delivered, and the market rallied. And then we've just had, it's probably a bit of a short cover. We opened up about 25 handles. We ended up closing up 55 handles. right? A spectacular rally. Beautiful, beautiful, solid rally. Today was the first time in history, once again, that NASDAQ closed above 20,000. That is a huge landmark. Some people say the Dow's no big deal, 40,000, 50,000, whatever it may be. But NASDAQ closing above 20,000 is significant. Amazon, Google, Meta, Netflix, all closed at record highs. Not 52-week highs, record highs today. And that's what took the NASDAQ to a 20,000 point close. We closed at 20,032. That is huge. So not only have we had 54 record highs across the board in the markets, not only have we are trading at a record high in the Dow, not only have we taken the S&P to 61, just almost 6,100, but now we have taken, and the Russell trading at record highs, but we've taken the NASDAQ, the great tech sector of all time, to a close above 20,000, first time in history. That's all I got to say about that. Ladies and gentlemen, it is beautiful to be with you. Trade Like Einstein, Money News Network. I love it. I love it. I love it. You got to be in it to win it. Check it out. Have a great holiday. I love you.
Hold onto your wallets. Money Rehab will be right back. And now for some more Money Rehab.
Hey everybody, now that we've done the wrap up on What the Heck's Going On, episode 9487, please stay tuned for one of my favorite interviews of the year from 2024. It's coming right at you.
Hey everybody, it's me, the Einstein of Wall Street, from the balcony here at the New York Stock Exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, I have interviewed millions of people all over the world in finance, in fashion, in every possible genre and sector in this world, but rarely have I ever had anybody who is as meaningful in my life than this gentleman here. I always get emotional about it. So it's important for you guys to know that this is David Meltzer, one of the most powerful people in social media, in life, in joy, in kindness, in literally everything. So when I was, you may not know this, but in March 15th of 2020, I got COVID. I was like patient zero. And soon after that, I ended up getting meningitis, and I was given 2 weeks to live or something, kind of crazy like that. And, as God does his amazing work and social media does the rest, I was sitting at home in bed, and my Instagram pops up, and there's a feed, and it says, you should probably get to know this person. And it was an interview of David with someone else. And I watched it, and it was one of David's unbelievable, inspirational, motivational videos that he does. And it just kind of clicked and connected to me. And I reached out to him and said, I don't know if you know who I am. And he said, yes, I do. And we got on a phone call immediately. I didn't even know that you could kind of do that on social media. And we ended up forging a relationship, and we've been friends ever since. And so that for me is like one of those God moments, right? A God shot in every possible way, like God interrupting my death. So anyway, David Meltzer is an extraordinary human being in so many ways. He's had an amazing journey. We share so many different things in common in our messaging and the story that we love to tell the world, which is all about success and failure, how very often we learn much more from failure than success. And we've had our own share of plenty of that share of that in our lives. And so, look, I think it's important for you all, before or after this interview, to go read up on David Meltzer, find out more of his story, because I can't tell the whole thing here in this short interview, but it's super important for you to know everything in the nooks and crannies of where he came from, his journey, what it was like, what happened in his life, and what it is like now, because it's extraordinary. If any of you are struggling, or any of you are looking for the big, brighter picture in life, this gentleman will help you get through that and share with you every bit of inspiration and motivation that you need. I am honored to have you here on the Stock Exchange. Thanks for coming. Look, you've done millions of interviews, and you've interviewed lots of people. And, there are some, everybody, has heard about some of your, biggest failures and biggest successes and whatnot. There are parts of the story that I've never heard. And so I really wanted, first of all, I'm honored. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
We should be honored.
I'm an Einstein fan in so many different ways, but the Einstein of Wall Street's even better than the Einstein of Princeton.
Exactly. Yeah, true. I hope so. look, I'm picking up where he left off
Good.
in so many ways. So, and look, I'm not that smart. I know I look like him. Trust me, I'm not that smart. But anyway, so let's go back. Describe to me the 20-year-old David Meltzer.
20-year-old David Meltzer, and I get choked up thinking about it, wanted to be rich. That's it. So I'm in a good place here because I think a lot of young 20-year-olds that were around the stock exchange, that's why they were here. They thought money would buy them happiness, love. And for me, I wanted to buy my mom a house. Okay. I grew up single mom. Yeah.
What a couple of saps we are. Right?
That's okay.
It's okay.
But everything in my head, my identity was about what my bank account was going to be. And I was in college, playing sports in college, but wanting to figure out how I was going to make the most money with my life to take care of my mom.
Was that a function of sort of your relationship with your dad growing up and stuff like that?
No, my dad left.
Your
So
dad left.
six kids in a 2-bedroom apartment, my mom working 2 jobs. She literally would pack our dinner in a paper bag and then fill up turnstiles at convenience stores with greeting cards so we could eat. But education was super important to my mom. My siblings all went to the Ivy Leagues. They did very well. I was blessed. But I just wanted to make a lot of money. My entire identity was around money. And that carried through until about my mid-30s. And so it really was a significant thing. My nickname in college was Money Money. The first touchdown I scored in college, I flipped the ball to my coach and I said Money Money. And they nicknamed me. Everything was about money.
Okay. So from college, you graduated college. What was it like? How did that go from there to be working at Sports One Marketing?
Sure. Well, I wanted, my mom had a saying, like probably your mom did, it was doctor, lawyer, or failure.
Right.
So I knew I didn't want to be a doctor. I hated hospitals. So I did my research. My oldest brother gave me this great piece of advice, which I say all the time, be more interested than interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wanted to be rich, I did my research on law schools to find out what type of lawyer makes the most money.
Right.
I didn't care what kind of lawyer.
Right.
Oil and gas litigators made the most money. Tulane University had the leading admiralty law program. That's where I went. That's where I graduated. And ironically, when you want to make the most money, you don't care what you do. So I was always, even though I got an oil and gas litigation job back in 1992 for $150,000 a year plus bonus,
a lot of money.
A lot of money. I took a sales job in legal research online from West Publishing for a $250,000 comp plan to sell.
Have a multiple stream of revenue.
Even though my mom said that was a fad, don't do it, 1992.
Right.
So I ended up selling in 9 months out of law school. I gave my heart and soul to everything to selling. I was a millionaire 9 months out of law school. The internet wasn't a fad. We exited the Thomson Reuters in 95 for $3.4 billion, which was a huge exit. Set my career in a different trajectory. I went up to the Silicon Valley. I was really curious about branding myself as a technology guru.
Okay.
And so I learned to raise money on Sand Hill Road, which was a superpower, still is a superpower. I do it mostly for charities now,
Right.
but I raise a lot of money. And I learned how to do that in my 20s on Sand Hill Road during the internet boom. By 99, I was CEO of Samsung's phone division, the first Windows device. It was a convergence device, not a smartphone.
Right.
They ended up being smartphones, they called them. But ironically, you talked about the universe saving your life.
Right.
The reason I got hired by Leigh Steinberg, the famous sports agent, Jerry Maguire,
Right.
was not because I was a frustrated athlete who was a Jewish lawyer, which there was thousands of us that wanted to work for Leigh Steinberg.
Yeah.
It was because I had 2 things that no one else had. I had a technology background at the highest level as a senior
Early on,
early on.
at the beginning of technology.
Yeah. So, and I also was a venture guy. I knew how to raise money. And so Leigh saw the future of sports in venture, in technology, not representation.
Right.
He was a visionary,
Right.
which made him Leigh Steinberg. So that's why I got hired in 48 hours after meeting Leigh Steinberg, because I was what he was looking for. And he would always say, the universe brought you to me, where I met Warren Moon, the Hall of Fame quarterback, ironically, a hero of mine since 1978, when on the radio I listened to him as the first Black quarterback to be the MVP of the Rose Bowl.
Right.
And literally beat Michigan. I'm an Ohio State fan, so I loved him. And he ended up being my business partner in sports world marketing.
So and we never hear that part of your story, because
Right.
we always hear about the fast track to when you had everything and then you lost everything. But what's important for people to notice, because I didn't know that about you, and it's clear you just told us at what point. It was early on. Some people are born like alcoholics. Some people are born with some good things and assets. Some are born with liabilities. It sounds to me like those qualities that have made you who you are now and have participated and been the components to your success and failure were in you at such a young age. It was sort of, it was forged by trauma. It was forged by discontent and watching your mom.
Right? Because that idea, I think my superpower is Bob Parsons said it best to me. He's the founder of GoDaddy, exited for $4 billion himself. He said, Dave, if you can learn to love what you do, and I rolled my eyes in the interview, I'm like, you'll never work a day. But he didn't say that. He said, if you can learn to love what you do and learn to love what you don't love and don't like, and you can learn to love what other people don't love and what they don't like, and you do it consistently, every day enjoy, and you do it without quitting, it will tell you all its secrets. And that has...
So from enjoying.
Yeah, learning to enjoy what other people don't like. So I remember sitting in second year of law school at Tulane on my bed. My oldest brother had passed away of AIDS. He was a doctor. I had law loans that I didn't know how to pay back. There was a recession in 1991, 92. And I sat on the edge of my bed and I told God, said, if you allow me to pay off my law loans and buy my house, I will shovel shit with my hands. 12 hours a day, 6 days a week in gratitude. Like a little elf.
It's not a quid pro quo. It was for gratitude. Right.
Yeah. And every day since then, everything was better than what I was willing to do to buy my mom a house. And still, everything I get to do, I still have that baseline that I am willing to do that, enjoy. I have figured out how to learn to love some of the most awful times, most awful things in my life, to find the light, the love, and lessons in it. And I am a student of gratitude and of forgiveness. And I think those two things raise our awareness of what we're given. See, here on the stock exchange, there's a bunch of people who believe the more you give, the more you receive.
Right.
And I believe that.
Yeah.
But you know what they don't teach you? It's really the more you give, the more you're given. So let's elevate our awareness through gratitude and forgiveness of what we're given, even when we're dying on our bed. Right? You were looking for what you were given, not for to receive anything. You were just looking, and when we do that, then we have to work on something that you need to work on, is receiving. See, then, because people go, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel bad.
You've helped in teaching me that.
Right. Because that's what creates the value-add world. If you really believe that there's more than enough of everything for everyone,
abundance.
So here's how I believe. I give everything I have. I'm going to be given more. I'm going to receive more. I'm going to ask for more than more from people who have it.
Then there's abundance.
Then I have more than more, and I'm giving more than more, to given more than more, to receive more than more, to ask for more than more. You see, I end up with more than more of everything, where everyone else ends up in a zero-sum game, because you and other people that I've met like you that are beautiful, my first responders, just generous, kind people, they give 100%, but then they only, I'll only take 98% because that's enough for me. Well, your new 100% becomes 98%. It's a zero-sum game. You end up at zero sooner or later.
You know what? It relates to so much. One of my biggest messages to young people when I talk about the stock market is investing in stocks and not stuff. We are like the largest consumer generation probably in history. We want what we want when we want it, right? I always have joked, and I do it myself. I see something on Instagram that I want. I'll go to buy it, and then it will offer me, it may be a $19 item, and then it will say, well, if you want it delivered yesterday, you can pay $25 to have it gotten there quicker. So I'm paying more to have what I want when I want it for the thing that it would have no value. But you're describing that we are really, we don't really think of the value of time, first of all, something we'll never get back. And also to think about that we are buying things. We need things. We think we need things. And there's just want and need, and what that equation gives us at the end, which is getting things at the minute we own them, they actually start to lose value. And so that's a mindset that I try and teach people, that let's say you have the iPhone 12 and there's nothing wrong with it, but the iPhone 13 just came out and I need it, I want it, I have to have it. And that urge, as we know, also urges on walk around the block, have some chocolate. You won't urge it. You won't need that thing as much. And think about it, if you don't buy that iPhone 13, but you buy 3 shares of Apple stock, suddenly you're going to be walking around, not with the flashiest phone, but you're going to be able to show people that you actually, the possibility that you bought something that the minute you bought it has the potential to go up in value and all that. So look, every minute with you is just so exciting for me. I wanted to know, when you went up to your interview with Mr. Steinberg, was it like, did everybody tell you you couldn't do it? You're crazy. Don't go up there. He's going to send you away. You know, I'm confronted by young people who will always say to me, oh, I can't go talk to them. I can't knock on that CEO's door. I'm not good enough for that. That whole self-esteem thing that people are afraid. And I always go, there is no door. What's going to happen? The worst thing that will happen is, I'm sorry, there's no spot for you right now. Good luck and have a nice day, right? There's no door that you can't go knock on. Did everybody tell you you can't do that?
For sure. I actually went I wasn't looking for a job and he wasn't hiring. I went to go help him. I had a friend that, you know, they were having difficulty with Magic Johnson in a reality show for Showtime. And I just volunteered because I wanted to meet him. And they're like, my wife was extremely concerned. She's like, why are you wasting your day going up to help this guy with his show and talk to Leigh Steinberg? I said, because I can actually help Leigh Steinberg. And I know when I help people, you see, my main objective is, would it help you if, or do you know anyone that could help me? This is what I asked.
Right.
This is how it is. I want to add value. And so sure enough, I didn't know everything going on with Leigh at the time, but he had never met anyone like me, he said, because I came in unconditionally. Hey, he asked why I was there. I said, well, this guy's my friend. He told me he's having a difficult time getting the deal done with you. I told him I thought I could help him. He thought it was a good idea that I just joined the meeting. He said, that's really nice. And then he said, tell me a little bit about you, and kind of hit it off. And I want to get to that point because you talked about buying things you don't need for instant gratification, but also people buy things, and this is a huge void, that you don't need to impress people you don't like. There's a big void, right, between I am and this is what I want people to think I am. And things are so easily accessible to allow people to think we're something we're not. And I think what you stand out on social media to me, and I try to do the same thing, is that people will meet you and say, oh my gosh, you're exactly the same. Right? I'm not standing in front of shit I don't own.
Right.
You know, I'm around amazing people, but I'm not posting pictures all day. I'm just posting words that I know would have helped me when I was 20 years old. And look, the worst thing that can happen is you're going to learn something. It's not even you get a no. I am a big asker. I still ask. People ask me, how the hell do you lose over $100 million? I never ask for help. If I just want to come to you, and I sincerely mean this, that at the time that I was worth over $100 million, if I would have come walk in here and said, I heard of this guy, he's the oldest broker on the floor, can I talk to him? I have a few questions. And just said, Peter, I have all this money. Here's how right now I'm investing it. What should I do? I promise you, I'd be the one donating $1 billion to Einstein's medical school right now. Right now, in my 50s. Now, I'm going to get there now because I have your help. But I know that's true. I just never asked anyone for help. And you'd be willing to help me. You would have thrown me out.
100%. And I want to go back to what happened when you lost everything and had to reinvent yourself. But also, you're known on the street. People know who you are. You have embarked on this amazing journey. Everybody go read about this because there'll never be enough time. That you've decided that your lifelong goal is to make 1 billion people, one person at a time, happy.
Over
a billion people, right? And bring joy, right? Which is so important. It's something that I learned from my parents, Holocaust survivors who came out of the darkest moment on earth, surely, and were able to forge an incredible love and friendship, and told me that joy and love and kindness will override any of the dark, evil negativity that any devil can ever think of. But people will come up to you, right? People will come up to me. I now get noticed on the street, and I love it. It's a lot of fun and whatnot. They won't even introduce, and it's something I learned from you, is the connection, right? They'll walk up to me and they'll just say, they won't say hello, they won't say their name. They'll just go, can I take a selfie with you?
Right.
And I learned that, I don't know if it was, maybe if it was even Magic Johnson or somebody I saw an interview, they said, So they get to take a picture with me. They'll walk away and they will have achieved absolutely nothing except maybe posting a silly picture of me and them on the internet, as opposed to introducing themselves, saying hi and engaging, right? People, we have lost that ability or that necessity or to actually engage with one human being and another. We're living behind this screen of the internet and social media and all that stuff. They will have achieved absolutely nothing, as opposed to saying, hi, my name is, I follow you, I respect you, maybe, thank you, and then maybe at the end, can I have a picture with you? Yes or no, it's not that. Yeah. But then, or at least get my contact information. I mean, this is a journey you talk about, but you also talk about the fact, how can you embark on a journey to bring joy to more than 1 billion people, one person at a time? That, yeah, you've talked about that exponential human reaction, that if I do it with you and you do it to someone else and then 3 people tell 6 people, that's how you do it. Yeah. But people think that that's way too big a thing to embark on, right? To ever do that. So I'm not going to do it. As opposed to, that baby steps towards any goal is better than waiting for the magic moment to do it, because it'll never happen.
Most importantly, what people do is they limit themselves by their own self-image. You will never overachieve your own self-image. So the minute you tell yourself, oh, I could never do that, that's never going to happen.
Limiting yourself.
You're living in a world of not enough. Why? When there's more than enough of everything. So I look at things and say, okay, and even over 1 billion people will ask me, like Sadhguru, why not everyone? Why are you limiting yourself, Dave? I said, well, I did the math and it was a lot easier to say over 1 billion. It could include everyone. I'm not limiting myself.
It may seem a little arrogant if I say everyone.
Right, but honestly, I literally thought my wife would think I was crazy, because as I recovered and learned how to make more money, help more people, and have more fun, I had to now tell my wife, as we were back really on track, I said, hey, what can I do for you? And the first thing she said is take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of all people. Right. And then I told her, hey, I'm on a new mission. I said, what's that? I said, to empower over 1 billion people. Because I know one particle of light, like you said, overcomes 1 million particles of darkness. Darkness is loud. It's very loud, especially on the internet and social
disruptive.
Media. Yeah, it's weak. It's so weak. Yeah. And when you shine your light, people, they are powering. You don't even see them. They don't even want to approach you. They won't even comment on your stuff because your light's so bright. They know how weak they are.
Right. And the more you engage that, it's like arguing with a drunk, crazy person. Yeah. You will achieve nothing, because they're not listening.
They're just giving it.
And life is too short to even waste time with that. But that even goes back to, like, when we get on a plane, they always say put up the oxygen on first so that you can help the person next to it. That's why, and my wife said the same thing to me, may she rest in peace, that when I went through what I went through in life and tried to recover through whatever dark spots I was through, challenges of being on Wall Street during the crash of '07, was take care of yourself, and then I know you'll be able to take care of us, because I know who you are when you're your best self,
right?
Which is so important. So you're suddenly, you're what, 28 years old, and you had everything in the world, what you thought you had everything, what you had strived for. You had shitloads of money, and then you lost it all.
And my dream job.
Right.
It was a glamour I stuck. When you have everything that you thought you wanted, and you have everything that other people want,
right?
And you are empty inside.
And you're still empty inside. So success without fulfillment.
Correct.
Right? Okay. Just an empty, a very full bank account with an empty heart.
When you
empty soul.
And you'll get this when you understand the stock market. People attach their emotions to an outcome with no idea of time and risk tolerance, with no idea of perceived value and bottom line. And that applies to my life, because I will be happy when. First it was 1 million, then it was buy my own house, then it was 10 million, then it was 50 million, then it was 100 million. I'll be happy when doesn't work. Right. And last night we had Chris Gardner, Pursuit of Happiness, and I always joke with him, there is literally no pursuit of happiness. Happiness is the pursuit. And when you know what you want, who you can help, who can help you, and how best to achieve that in a divine direction by learning, I promise you will have passion, you'll have purpose, and the profitability will follow you.
3 Ps.
Get away from
Passion, purpose, and profitability. You know what? Look, we could talk forever, and I want to do this again another time.
For sure.
I think it's more, look, when I thought of interviewing you, I've watched other interviews, and everybody goes back to the fact that you had all this and you lost all this and whatever. But I really feel like I think we touched on so much more important stuff, because that's not the story. The story is what it was like and what happened and where you are now and what that mission is and how that mission now suddenly is so exponentially explosive, and that David's mission is to bring happiness to more than 1 billion people. Think about that. And it's almost unfathomable to imagine how powerful that is, but go check it out. Trade with Einstein, Money News Network. For me, this is the most meaningful relationship that I have in my life. It brings me joy every single day. Thanks. Awesome.
Be kind to your future self and do good deeds.
There you go. Giddy up. Live long and day trade.